Okay. Okay, class. So I've already uploaded this today, and this is the rest of the histotechnique. Okay. For our learning objectives, we have to describe the importance of the following histotechniques: dehydration, clearing, impregnation, embedding, and trimming, and to differentiate the methods employed on those given histotechniques. Okay. So uh, different histotechniques class is a pre-analytical procedure done inside the histopath lab, and it is being performed by the medical technologist. Okay, so we aid the diagnosis of diseases by reading or by processing these specimens for the aid of reading by the pathologist. Okay, so we have already, I've already uploaded fixation and decalcification last week. So today, we're going to start with dehydration. Okay. So dehydration aims to remove the fixative and water from the tissue and replacing them with dehydrating fluid in preparation for impregnation. Okay, class, what is the main reason of dehydration? Okay, so dehydration, class, is to remove the water and other tissue fluids. Why? Because those tissue fluids or most of our impregnating medium is not miscible with water or the tissue fluids. Okay, so that's why we are going to remove them. So, what is the most common impregnating fluid or impregnating medium? So, the most common is paraffin, and it is not miscible with water. Ibig sabihin, it do not mix well with fluid. Okay? So, dehydrating fluid are generally used in increasing strength or ascending grades. So, the most common dehydrating fluid class is alcohol. So, we use alcohol for dehydration and specifically in ascending grade. So, why? So it is in increasing strength. So all aqueous tissue fluids are removed, but with little disruption of the tissue due to diffusion current. So that's the reason why it is in ascending grades. By the way, class, throughout the course of our discussion, I will be going to ask 3 questions for your class participations. So you're going to send your answers directly sa messenger. Okay? So sabihin ko lang yung question, and then later on you're going to answer, but be it on during the course of the class or maybe after the class. Okay, so 3 questions yun for class participations. Okay, so what is diffusion current? So why it is important to uh, take note of this during dehydration? Okay, diffusion current, class, but diffusion is the movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. If you expose or immerse the tissue directly on a higher grade alcohol, the tissue will shrink. Okay, thus disrupted tissues and the cells. So, masisira ang tissue. So that's why it is being exposed in an ascending grade. So what about delicate specimens? So we start with 30% alcohol for delicate. So what are those delicate specimens? Examples, brain and eyes. Okay. So what about normal specimens? For example, skin and muscles. We start with 65% and then 5 grade higher, 70, 75, 85, 95, and then absolute alcohol. This is for normal specimens. Okay? For the general rule for dehydration, the volume of the dehydrating fluid should be 10 times, at least 10 times the volume of the tissue. Okay? To allow good dehydration of the tissues. Okay? So how can we identify or what is the characteristics of an ideal dehydrating solution? So it should dehydrate rapidly, okay, without producing considerable shrinkage or distortion tissue. Rapidly so that it can be used in a routine laboratory. Okay? It should not evaporate fast. It should be able to dehydrate even fatty tissues. It should not harden tissue excessively. It should not remove the stains. It should not be toxic to the body, and it should not be fire hazard. Okay, Alcohol, we all know that it can evaporate fast and it is a fire hazard. But the good thing about alcohol class is it is easily purchased. It can be mixed easily. So when it comes to fire hazard, that's why performing dehydration should be inside the fume hood. Okay? Or in case sa mga laboratories, we have a nearby fire extinguishers, okay? Or showers in case of fire hazards, okay? So the most common dehydrating agent is alcohol. Okay, specifically class ethanol. Okay, so alcohol the most common. What are the other types of dehydrating agents? So following alcohol, we have acetone. So acetone class is used both as fixative and as a dehydrating agent. Okay, dioxane or the diethylene dioxide used as dehydrating and clearing agent. Okay, Cellulose or the ethylene glycol monoethyl ether. Okay, it dehydrates rapidly. Tetrahydrofuran, okay, both dehydrating and clearing agent. So why do we do not use other types of dehydrating agents? Why do we settle for alcohol? Okay, first, alcohol, as what I've said a while ago, it is easily purchased. It can be easily mixed. Okay, and it is cheap, cheaper compared to other dehydrating agent. So the one that I have been mentioning, acetone and other dehydrating agent class, it is not easily be found. Okay, sa mga purchasers natin. Okay. Okay, and then anhydrous copper sulfate, both dehydrating and used as an indicator. Okay, so alcohol. Okay, first is ethanol. It is for routine dehydration of tissues. Okay, the best dehydrating agent. Also, methanol for blood and tissue films. Methanol, we use that when we also fix our blood films. Okay, and yung mga bone marrow slides natin. Okay, butyl alcohol for plants and animal microtechniques. Industrial methylated spirit or yung ating denatured alcohol, ethanol plus small amount of methanol, and then your isopropyl alcohol. So basically, class, alcohol, specifically ethanol, is the most commonly used. Okay. This is the step-by-step procedure sa ating dehydration. So first, 30, 50, and 70. Okay, class. The ascending grade of alcohol depends on each laboratory, histopath lab. So there are labs that starts with 65, 60, 50. There are also laboratories which starts from 30. Okay, and then 70, 90, and then absolute alcohol. Okay. So how do we know that we have already completed the dehydration process? So we have two steps, class. First is the anhydrous copper sulfate. Okay, this is a powder. It's a white powder which turns to blue in the presence of water. Okay, this procedure, class, is already obsolete, but it still goes, or it still came out sa board exam. Okay, it's a powder indicator for complete dehydration. It's anhydrous copper sulfate. It turns blue in the presence of water. So another one is xylene. Xylene is our clearing agent. Okay, so what happens to xylene? What happens to xylene if we immerse an incomplete dehydrated tissue? It turns milky. Okay, para siyang precipitated na xylene. Okay, so those two are our indicators for dehydration. Okay, first question for our class participation. Take note, class, you can answer directly sa messenger throughout the class or later after the discussions. Okay, so first question. Okay, why do you think that dehydration is an important part of histotechnique? Okay, first question. What is the reason why dehydration is an important part of histotechnique? Okay. So next topic will be clearing. Okay. After dehydration, we perform clearing. Clearing is also known as dealcoholization. But basically, class, since alcohol is the most common dehydrating agent, we use this term. But clearly, we have other types of clearing agents. So that's why we settle for clearing as a term. So clearing is a process of replacing the dehydrated fluid with a fluid that is miscible with both dehydrating fluid and impregnating or embedding medium. So replacement of dehydrating fluid with a fluid miscible for both dehydrating and impregnating medium. Okay. So what is the characteristic of a good clearing agent? So first, miscible with alcohol, since alcohol is our dehydrating fluid. Next, miscible with a melted paraffin wax. Why? Melted paraffin or paraffin wax glass is our most common impregnating and embedding medium. Okay, so that's the first two characteristics of a good clearing agent. Miscible with both alcohol and paraffin wax. Next is should not produce excessive shrinkage and hardening of damage or damage of tissues. Should not dissolve out amine dyes and should not evaporate quickly in water bath and should not make tissue and should make tissue transparent. Okay, so these are the characteristics of a good clearing agent. So what is the most common clearing agent? So we have xylene, also known as xylol. Other substitute for xylene, we have toluene, chloroform, but chloroform is seldom used because of its toxicity. It can damage the liver after prolonged inhalation. Next is methyl benzoate and methyl salicylate, used when double embedding technique is required. Double embedding class will be discussed later on sa ating embedding. Okay? And then cedarwood oil and clove oil for smooth muscles and CNS. Also, we also use citrus fruits oil. So what is clearing? Okay. Also, trichloroethane petrol. So this specific chemical class is used for sa mga cars. Okay. Benzene. Benzene is not used at all sa present time, for it can cause a plastic anemia and it is carcinogenic. Okay. Even a minute exposure to benzene class can already cause a plastic anemia. Okay. Aniline or aniline oil, it's a partial dehydrant. It is used for embryos, insects, and very delicate specimens. Okay. Carbon tetrachloride. Okay. High toxic effect. Carbon tetrachloride class is not used or it is not being used today as it can cause liver and kidney degeneration. Okay. Gum syrup and glycerin make tissue transparent but not de-alcoholized. Okay, gum syrup and glycerin class are used for those tissues not being dehydrated by alcohol. So gum syrup and glycerin are used as clearing agent. Okay, if the dehydrating agent is not alcohol. Okay, so xylene. Xylene is a colorless clearing agent. So we have to discuss xylene because xylene is the most commonly used clearing agent. So the clearing time for xylene is 30 minutes to 1 hour. So rapid siya. Used for clearing both embedding and mounting procedure. So what is the advantages of using xylene class? So first, rapid, used for urgent biopsies and for routine laboratories. Okay, it can make tissue transparent, miscible for both alcohol and paraffin. So these are the two characteristics, diba, of a good clearing agent. Does not extract out aniline dyes. Okay, does not dissolve celloidine. Evaporates quickly in a paraffin oven, and it is cheaper compared to other clearing agent. But xylene has also some disadvantages. Okay, first, highly flammable. Okay, makes tissue excessively hard and brittle if it's used longer than 3 hours. Not suitable for nervous tissues and lymph nodes. And xylene becomes milky when it's completely incomplete dehydrated tissue is immersed in it. Okay, so xylene class, the most, I think, we have already some studies that xylene is already toxic. But sa mga routine laboratories, histopath lab, we still use xylene because we do not, wala pang chemicals that can compare sa results ng xylene as a clearing agent. Okay? Okay, now let's move on to impregnation. Okay, impregnation class is also known as infiltration. Okay, it is used as infiltration. So 25 times the tissue volume. So it is the required volume of an impregnating agent versus the tissue, 25 times the volume. So after clearing class, tissues is submerged in a 2 or more changes of melted paraffin wax. Process of replacing the clearing agent with infiltrating medium, and the medium used to infiltrate the tissue is usually the same medium used for embedding, except for double embedding. Okay, so usually class, if paraffin is the infiltrating medium, paraffin is also used as the embedding medium. In cases of double embedding class, which will later be discussed sa embedding, uh, different infiltrating medium and different impregnating medium for double embedding. Okay, so we have 4 types of tissues, tissue impregnation and embedding media. So the most common class is paraffin. Next is followed by celluloidine or the collodion, gelatin, and plastic or resin. So what is the importance or what is the use of those impregnating medium? So it is used to fill out or fill in the tissue cavities holes or the spaces by using melted wax. So those tissues class, those tissues we have spaces or holes sa tissues class that is being occupied before by tissue fluids. Diba, we have extracted the tissue fluids during dehydration. So we put the impregnation or infiltrating medium in replacement on those tissue fluids. Okay. So what is the most common impregnating medium? So the most common is paraffin or paraffin wax. Okay, Butch Liai, so he was the first one to use paraffin wax. Okay, he was a Japanese class, so Otto Butch Liai. Okay, uh, if you are familiar, I think you're familiar with him. He was Iodamiba Buchliai was named after him. Okay, he's a zoologist and a chemist. Okay, he uses paraffin before to dissect insects for studies. Okay, so paraffin is simple and it's the most common and best infiltrating and embedding medium. Okay, it is not recommended for fatty tissues and for frozen section. What is the reason why it is not recommended for fatty tissues? Okay, fatty tissues class, in accordance with or in exposure to uh, melted paraffin class, fatty tissues becomes disrupted or the fat cells becomes degenerated. Okay, in exposure to melted paraffin. So we do not use paraffin when we perform technique with fatty tissues. Okay, so the temperature of paraffin oven is usually 55 to 60 degrees Celsius. So paraffin oven must be maintained at the temperature 2 to 5 degrees Celsius above the melting point of the paraffin. Okay, so usually class the paraffin meron siya melting point of 50 to 60 degrees. So we maintain the temperature of the oven 2 to 5 degrees Celsius above that. So to remove excess water, so we heat the wax to 100 to 105 degrees Celsius. So we did that because sometimes class, the paraffin wax is being exposed to sometimes some kind of fluids. So to remove that, first we need to heat or to melt the paraffin in a 100 to 105 degrees Celsius just to remove the excess water. Okay. So what is the advantage of using paraffin as an impregnating fluid or impregnating medium? So thin individual serial sections may be cut with ease without undue distortion. Okay, very rapid. Sections may be prepared within 24 hours. So while using this paraffin impregnating medium, you can already perform the whole impregnation within 24 hours. Tissue blocks And unstained mounted sections can be uh, stored for an indefinite period of time. So later on sa ating discussion class, during post analytical phase, we will going to discuss the period of time for storage of these tissue sections. Okay, so many staining procedures are permitted with good results, but paraffin wax also have some disadvantages. So overheated paraffin can make the specimen brittle. Prolonged impregnation will cause tissue shrinkage and hardening. That's why it is being timed. Okay? Inadequate impregnation will promote retention of clearing agent. Paraffin impregnation is not recommended for fatty tissues. Okay? Bones, teeth, brains, and eyes are difficult to infiltrate using paraffin. So using those specimens like bones, especially those undecalcified bones and teeth, is not easily infiltrated. So we use different types of impregnating medium. Okay. So what are the other impregnating medium in replacement to paraffin? So we have Paraplast. Paraplast glass is a combination of paraffin and a plastic polymer. Okay, so much durable siya compared to paraffin. More elastic and resilient than paraffin for large, dense tissue blocks such as bones and brains. It has a melting point of 56 to 57 degrees Celsius. Okay, the downside of Paraplast glass is it is expensive, okay, compared to paraffin. Embedol, melting point 56 to 58 degrees Celsius, okay, less brittle and less compressible than Paraplast. Bioloid, 56 to 58, recommended for embedding ice. Okay. If the specimen is ice, so you use Bioloid. And then tissue mat, a product of paraffin containing rubber with the same property as Paraplast. Okay. The difference between Paraplast and tissue mat class is Paraplast, it is not bendable. Tissue mat, it is very flexible compared to Paraplast because of it contains rubber, okay, as part of its component. Okay, next is ester wax. So it is harder than paraffin, not soluble in water, okay, soluble in 95% ethanol and other clearing agents. So the melting point of ester wax is 46 to 48 degrees Celsius. Can be used for impregnation without prior clearing of tissues. So clearing process is omitted if you are going to use ester wax. Okay. So we have also other water soluble waxes. So the most common is carbo wax. Okay. So soluble and miscible with water, hence does not require dehydration and clearing of the tissues. So we usually use carbo wax class if the specimen is fresh. Okay, fresh and should not be exposed to alcohol and other agent. So after fixation, we proceed directly to impregnation. Okay, so it is suitable for many enzyme histochemical studies. Okay. Next, a good example or the most widely used aside from paraffin, we have celloidine. Okay, celloidine, also known as collodion, is a purified form of nitrocellulose. Okay, suitable for specimens with large hollow cavities and dense tissues. For example, bones and teeth. So large tissue sections of the whole embryo. If you can see sa picture class, it is more clear. Okay? Yung end product of celloidine as impregnating medium is more clear than using paraffin. Paraffin class is hazy. Okay? After hardening, paraffin becomes hazy and then because of some impurities. But if you use celloidine, so celloidine is a nitrocellulose, para siyang syrup. Okay? After hardening glass, the end product is clear, like this. So the example is a brain in a 12% celloidine. Okay? So embedded, okay, molds in Wheaton dish. Okay, so two methods for celloidine impregnation. We have two methods. So we have wet and dry. So wet is recommended for bones, teeth, large brains, and whole organs. For dry, we preferred for processing whole eye. So for wet class, after usual fixation and dehydration of the tissue, it is placed in an equal parts of ether and alcohol for 12 to 24 hours. The tissue then placed in a thin celloidine. Okay, first, a thin celloidine, uh, 2 to 4% yung thin celloidine for 5 to 7 days. After 5 to 7 days, it is transferred to a medium celloidine. Medium equivalent to 4 to 6% for another 5 to 7 days. After that, drained off and poured with thick celloidine. Thick celloidine is 8 to 12% until the specimen has become impregnated, usually between 3 to 5 days. Okay, so same method. Wala siya. Wait lang. Same method with dry celloidine class. The only difference class is in dry celloidine, they do not use alcohol. Instead, they use Gilson's mixture. So Gilson's mixture is a combination of chloroform and cedarwood oil. So number two, class participation. Okay. So what do you think the reason why paraffin, okay, is the most common impregnating medium? Okay. Again, what do you think the reason why paraffin is the most common impregnating medium? Okay. Next, gelatin. Gelatin class is rarely used as dehydration. In dehydration is to be avoided. Gelatin class is usually used as the clearing agent if the specimen is fresh and for histochemistry. Okay, we will going to discuss more of this gelatin as clearing agent sa molecular biology. Okay, so water soluble does not require dehydration and clearing. Next is embedding. So embedding, we have casting or blacking, also known as casting and blacking. So a process by which the impregnated tissue is placed into a precise arranged position in a mold containing medium which is allowed to solidify. So usually class, what you use for impregnation is the same medium you use for embedding. So orientation is a process by which tissue is arranged in a precise position in the mold during embedding. Okay. The temperature of the melted paraffin used is 5 to 10 degrees Celsius above its melting point. To solidify, embedded tissue cooled down or cooled rapidly in a refrigerator. Sa mga routine laboratories class, they are using yung cold plate, okay, for cooling down or for hardening of embedded tissues. Okay, so we have different types of blacking out molds. First is we have Lockhart. This is 2L shape metal arranged, okay, intersecting. We have compound embedding medium, interlocking plates, class resting on a flat metal base, and we have plastic embedding rings. So the most common is Tissue-Tech. So this is the Lockhart embedding molds. So dalawang L siya interlocking, and we have compound embedding units. So plates more interlocking metal plates. Okay, and this is the plastic embedding rings. And on the right side, it's the Lockhart. Okay, meron siya specific instrument used for cooling. Now let's go to the disposable embedding molds. Okay, peel away. Okay, a plastic disposable. We have 3 different sizes. This first is in peel away, and plastic ice trays. Okay, class, plastic ice trays came out sa board exam recently. So the question was, what is the most recommended embedding molds for routine laboratories? So the answer is plastic ice trays. Okay, and then what we're going to use in our laboratory class is the paper boat. It's the most cheap and easy to make. So we can also use glossy magazines for our paper boats. Okay. Now, other embedding medium, we have celloidine or the nitrocellulose method. Okay, hard tissues such as bones, teeth, and the next one is the double embedding medium method. Double embedding class, we use celluloidine as infiltrating medium, and for embedding, we use paraffin. It is used for dense and firm tissues like the brain. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, double embedding method. For infiltration, use celluloidine and use paraffin during embedding. Okay? And then we also use plastic or resin for embedding. So resins class can be purchased sa mga hardwares because it is used for furniture making and other construction purposes. So used for hard tissues such as undecalcified bones. Okay, so examples are epoxy plastics, polyester, and acrylic plastics. So you can purchase these in any hardwares. Okay, but we use benzoyl peroxide as an added catalyst if we use plastic resin for embedding medium. Okay, and lastly, for our topic today, we have trimming. So trimming is the process of removing excess wax after embedding. Excess wax is cut off from the blocks to expose the tissue surface in preparation for the actual cutting. So maybe the knife or the base may be used for prism. So cube siya or a pyramid. At least 2 millimeters of wax should be surrounded the tissue block. So what is the purpose of trimming? So we have two. First one class is to expose the tissues. So diba, during embedding, in the process of orientation, you place the specimen on the center on the base of the mold. But after hardening class, the tissue somewhere on the middle and then covered by excessive embedding medium. So what we do, we expose or we trim those parts near to the tissues. At least 2 millimeter of wax surrounded the tissue before sectioning. The other reason, class, is to fit the block on the microtome. So first reason, to expose the tissue. And the second reason is to fit the tissue blocks on the microtome. Okay, so these are the two reasons for performing trimming. Okay, so I think that's the end of our discussion. And for wait lang. And for our last student class participation, the number three question is, out of the embedding molds discussed, what do you think is the best for embedding? What is the best embedding mold used for embedding? Okay. Number three question, what is the best embedding mold for embedding tissues? Okay. First question, what is the reason for dehydration? Second, what do you think? What do you think the reason why paraffin is the best used for infiltration? And lastly, out of the mentioned blocking molds, what do you think is the best mold for embedding? Okay, you can send the answer directly to the messenger. Okay, any questions, class? So we have less than a minute for our topic today. Okay, this will be uploaded sa YouTube. Sorry, class, I have not uploaded yung previous meeting natin kasi may problem sa video. Hindi siya parang may glitch sa video. So hindi ko siya upload sa YouTube. Okay? So I think I have already discussed. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. You can unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions. Okay? Hello, anyone? So do you have any questions?
Parang okay na po, sir.
Okay. So,
Sir, Zoom meeting pa rin bukas?
okay, tomorrow is holiday. So we do not have Zoom meeting. But if you have
Okay.
further questions, you can directly message me sa messenger. Okay? Or email me.
Okay, sir. Thank you po.
Okay. So I think that would be all. Okay.
Sir, good morning.
Yes, Dean. Good morning
Christine.
po.
And may I remind, tomorrow is still June 10. It's
Ay,
still
sorry.
June 10.
Okay po, sorry. Dean.
So our holiday is June 12 po.
Sorry po. Okay.
Okay.
Our tomorrow is our quiz. Sorry. We have quiz tomorrow for histopathology. Friday is as the schedule for our Zoom meeting. It is a holiday. So wala tayong Zoom meeting sa Friday.